Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are Pole on the Call podcast, and my name is Mandy Mac.
And I'm Cris Rivers.
And today we are super duper excited because we are with the amazing Jacob, the pole wizard.
Hello, hi, Queen Wave.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes, thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed and meeting with us today, and being willing to share your pole
Thank you for having me.
journey.
I'll do your little Gen Z heart. I've been practicing because people on the
Yes.
internet have told me that this means you're old, so I've trained myself to do this and this.
Thank you for saying that.
That's
I
too
didn't
funny.
know. I've been doing this.
Oh no, no, don't be caught dead around a Gen Z doing that. And if you're mimicking a phone call, don't do this. They'll shoot you. You have to do this. Like, yeah.
That is so
That's
funny.
so
You never thought
funny.
to-
Yeah, because they don't know what a landline is. Like, if a Gen
Yeah.
Z tries to show that they're taking a call, they just know this. Like, if you imitate, like, I don't know, if I told you, show me that you're taking a photo, we would do this. They'd do this because
Yeah,
they don't know that
Ah.
holding a normal camera. Yeah, like, don't go into those depths of tech. I mean, we've spoken about it. So, what are FBI agents listening to your phones now is going to send that to your TikTok algorithm. But yeah, uh, be vigilant around the young ones.
too funny.
Oh, I'm so
It's
appreciative of that. Yeah.
such a band like that. They do very different things that we do, landlines and all.
hmm
Yeah.
That's like when we
Alrighty.
say like recording, I'll always say like tape, but they don't tape things anymore. They like film or record.
It's too funny.
Tape. I mean, that even made me go a little tape.
Oh no!
I don't mean to shame you, VCR queen, but tape.
I am from the 1900s, okay?
Me too. Uh,
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess we should get started with maybe the beginning of your pole journey. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
yes. So well, I actually started as a joke. So I used to do ballroom dancing. So I did that from the age of like 14. And I did that for about 7 years. And during those 7 years, I dabbled in other styles. I want to be like, oh, yeah, I did contemporary dance. It's like when I say, yeah, I speak French, and then somebody who speaks French speaks to me, and I'm like, I don't know, slow down. So that's how I feel about contemporary dance and other styles. Like, I dabbled, I can do a thing, I can't do all the things. Yes, so I'm not a contemporary dancer, but I did a little bit. And then, well, I was at this point in Warsaw. I went to university in Warsaw. And at that point, I was just like, on my own, working like a part time waiter job whilst going to university. And ballroom dancing is like the golf of dance. It is so freaking expensive. I was like, I am not pulling off these outfits and these private lessons and all of that on a waiter like part-time waiter salary. That's just not going to happen. So I kind of didn't do anything for 6 months. And then I saw a video of Felix Kane pop up on YouTube. And I was just like, oh, this bitch is insane. And I was like, oh, let's try it. Because there was another one of my friends who was a dancer who worked in the same office as me when I still had like a sales job. And I was like, let's just go to this pole taster lesson. Let's just go be strippers for an hour. It should be fun. And here we are 11 and a half years later. It's my whole life. So yeah, it all started out as just like a little innocent joke. And here my identity now.
I love it. That's too funny. Did you find that the ballroom dancing helped you when you transitioned to pole?
Definitely I'm into it. And I think this will apply to anybody who trained any kind of movement based skill. Obviously, coordination. You've got the coordination. I feel like coordination for most people, we always say strength and flexibility. Coordination is the biggest downfall of any person who's starting to do a movement based activity. Let's say grab the pole with your right arm, standing up, and they'll like lay down on the floor and hook their left leg. So it's like, you got to know where your body parts are. And I guess you are more used to, let's say, copying the teacher in terms of choreography and memorizing movement patterns. That's definitely beneficial. posture often. I mean, if you're trained a more classical dance, for sure. And then, well, men technically in ballroom dancing don't need to be flexible, but I always train flexibility. So I already had a baseline of flexibility. Strength, I don't know if it helped me in that regard at all. But yeah, definitely movement quality and just movement pattern recognition. Made myself sound like I'm AI or something, but yeah, that all helped definitely when it came to starting. So when I started, I just did like a normal 6-week beginner course, but obviously I was in a group with people who just didn't do any things. You know, Sandra from finance, Carol from accounting, all of those people in a group together. So I picked things up fairly quickly, and then afterwards I just switched to private lessons. And I was really lucky because actually the studio I went to, the instructor there would in a few months become, for the first time, the Polish pole sport champion, and then she'd defend that title like 5 times. So I was like in the best hands I could be in. And I was like, for a couple of months, I was just taking privates with her, and she was just teaching me all of the things. And then I just started competing and joining like the instructor training jams. And then, yeah, just went on to like opening my own place and just spiraled from there, really. But I kind of like went on a deep dive straight after those first 6 weeks. I was like, this is my thing. I found my thing. Let's go.
And then you totally left ballroom behind? You were like, bye.
Yes, I do miss it sometimes. Like, I feel like anybody who I feel like everybody does this. Like when you're alone at home and nobody can watch you, like headphones in and just dance around like an idiot. So I still have that whenever I get like a good ballroom tune going. Like I do enjoy it, but I would never go back to like actually training it. I really, it does have a special place in my heart, I guess, but and it taught me a lot. And a lot of stuff that actually, in terms of mentality to movement, transferred really well to pole, which I think a lot of pole dancers don't do. But we can get to that later. By the way, if I sidetrack, you pull me back in because my ADHD ass is going to be all over the shop here. We're going to be talking about ballroom, and soon we're going to be talking about groceries. Like, I don't know how this is going to go. Okay, so control my brain for me. And here, what was I talking about? Ballroom. Yes. So I wouldn't necessarily go back to like the competitive scene and like training it because I don't have time. And also I just think pole's my thing. I found my thing, and I don't know if that's going to change in terms of physical activity.
Love it.
Yes, I love that. What has ended up being your favorite pole dance style? I mean, I have my guess, but I know you said you trained flexibility as well. But what
Mhm.
do you enjoy doing? What's like your go-to?
So right now, I would say everything heels related. And I'm not even going to specify a style because I feel like a lot of people, Jazzy K actually did a really good post about this, that you don't have to like put yourself in a box that I'm a flow dancer, I'm a hard style dancer, I'm an old school. Like you don't have, I feel like I'm a little bit of all of those things. And I don't want to pick one because I love a bit of everything, and I get bored really easily, so I can't just be doing kips all the time. I need to flow from time to time, and on a sudden day I'll feel like a whore, so I'm like, let me like just do, let me put something very skimpy on, let me do something more sensual, and I just like to play around with it. And it's really cool that we have all of these more modern experimental styles in heels, like edge work and all of that stuff. So immediately I had to jump on that train. So yeah, everything heels related. I still do obviously admire and love all of the dancers who are maybe more artsy, or people who are very like sporty in terms of like the stuff that they can do up the pole. I love watching it. I have no desire to necessarily go up there and do that myself. Like, she does not climb anymore. Okay. She is on the floor where she is happy and she will remain there. But I still love to watch it.
I
Yes.
absolutely love it. Thank you so much for that honesty.
Right. Right. Thank you for saying that too, because I think a lot of times pole dancers think they have to go up the pole, but like do what you love.
No, you do your thing. Like, I think especially like if somebody really wants to make a career out of it, right? Because that was always my dream, to be able to go and teach workshops and do things like that and travel. And I feel like a lot of people who like really dive into these things want to be able to do those things. And I think it makes me feel 100 years old, but back in the day, it was competitions really, right? Because there was no TikTok, or if it was, in existence, then it wasn't big. Instagram wasn't a big deal. So competitions were really how you got your name out there. You had to go and do all of these big things, because then, you know, you just got your name recognized. But that's not really the reality nowadays. Nowadays, social media is so prominent that there are many traveling pole artists who have never competed, and you don't need to. Like, you know, like competing, I guess, is not for everybody. I personally don't enjoy it. It stresses me out. I love teaching. Competing, I'm like, am I gonna sweat on the day? Oh, the score sheet says I have to go up the pole. I don't fucking want to go up the pole. And then, you know, so I'm like, okay, maybe not for me. Some people love it, not me. And I think it's really cool that now you can find your niche, and you can kind of just do the thing that you love to do and get recognized for that, and just continue your career doing that thing. So no, absolutely, you don't need to go up the pole. You don't need to be super bendy. You don't need to be the super strong pole dancer. You don't need to be all of the things. You can just be that thing that you like being, and it's okay.
Yes. I love that you bring that up because you're right. Years ago, you had to compete to bring your name up, and I don't know how people could do it. I don't know if I'd ever be able to do it. I love how times, like you said, have changed, that now you can use social media in order to build the career that you want.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I think it's definitely amazing, especially for people who don't want to compete themselves. And yeah, the competing scene, like just in general, changed because also back in the day, there just weren't that many competitions. So, you know, when there was that like one or two big things throughout the year, everybody followed it, right? Like I know that, you know, when the big pole art competition existed, like everybody would be like, who won? Where are the videos? Where's the live stream? Like everybody would be all over it. And now I feel like, you know, there are so many competitions that it's hard to keep track. You know, not everybody now knows who's the national champion of every single country, whereas before you would have more of a recognition of all of these things. But in on the plus side of that, we also have a lot more um accessible level competitions, because before it was just like that's it, like one category, two categories, everybody against everybody, and you'd like walk out and be up against this like absolute titan up on the pole. And now you have, you know, beginner, amateur, semi-pro, all of that, and it's great. I wish that existed when I started, but it's really cool that it exists now, and I'm happy for people who just have, you know, a lot of people maybe don't want to be instructors or make a big deal out of competing on a national, but they want to get out on stage. They just want to go, they want to do a piece, and it's cool that they go up against people who are of a similar level of capability to them instead of just being thrown into the ocean.
Right. You said you don't like competitions. Have you done any competitions in the past?
Yes. So I used to compete fairly regularly, and then I just had bigger breaks until I was finally like, I don't want to do this anymore. I do love competitions as like a general thing. I just don't like competing myself. But when I started, I went through the whole spectrum of pole stuff. So I started as pole sport, and I was doing so my first pole sport competition I did 6 months after I started doing pole. And then I did the European Championships 11 months after my first lesson. And then a couple months after that, I did the World Champs, which doesn't mean that I was like, God knows how good. I just did these things. I just went and did them, you know? And then I kind of didn't want to do the sporty thing anymore, because I just found that prepping for it just didn't spark any joy in me. It was more like, oh, now I have to go and I have to, it just wasn't, you know, my thing. So then I went into more of the artsy competitions, and I really enjoyed that. And I was doing the artsy stuff until um, 2016, and then I got invited to Australia for the Felix Cane Pole Championships. So I was like, you know, it was like a full circle moment. Like she's the reason I even started doing this in the first place. And I was like, and this bitch knows who because she reached out to me. She was like, I would love to have you in this competition. I was like, how do you know who I am? Like, I was like, she's like some kind of goddess in the sky. She doesn't exist. She doesn't talk to people. Like, maybe if I pray enough, I don't know. But somehow she found me and she invited me over for a competition. I was like, yes, absolutely, I'll go. And then I went and I did well. I came second in that one. And ever since that, it's just been pretty much heels for me. So then, well, I did wear heels in that competition because it was in Australia, and I'm like, well, in Australia, heels are like slippers, like they're all gonna be in heels. I'm not gonna be the one barefoot person there, so I like bought the heels and I did it. But in my own retrospect, it's like I did a pole routine and I was wearing heels. It was not a heels routine. Like for me, there's a big difference between the two things, whether you do a heelsy routine or whether you just happened to be wearing heels whilst you were doing your pole routine, right? Let's just differentiate those two things. So I did a pole routine and I was wearing heels. That's what I'll say about that. I didn't really like know all of these transitions and all of the things that people would do. And then I just started like self-teaching and diving through the depths of Instagram and getting inspired by loads of people. And yeah, so between that and 2019, I didn't do any comps. I was just that's when I got into makeup artistry as well. So I had a job as a makeup artist, and then I did Exotic Generation in 2019, and that was kind of the comp that changed everything for me because that's when I did the Voldemort piece. And after the Voldemort piece, that's when everything kind of like blew up for me, and that's where everyone was like, "Who is this?" The Pole Wizard didn't exist back then; it was just still my name of the like, "Who's this dude that came out with like the prosthetic on his face?" And then I'd be like meeting people in person. They'd be like, "Did you see that guy?" I'm like, here. But because I was like bald and I had nobody knew it was what I actually looked like. So yeah, and after that COVID hit, so before COVID, I still did the Exotic Generation World Champs in Moscow. Then COVID happened, so the whole world was like on pause. And then since that, I've done two more competitions. So last year, was it last year? 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I did a doubles routine with Jazzy K, and we were Jesse and James from Team Rocket. So we did that because we're both absolute Pokemon nerds, and we were just like one. I think we were just talking one day, and we were like, "How cool would it be to like be Team Rocket? Nobody's done Team Rocket," and we were like, "We have to do this." Except she lives in Switzerland and I live in England, so we like trained 3 times. We managed to meet up, but we did it. And then my most recent one was just August this year. So they did this competition in the UK. They kind of wanted to create a new, really high level competition in the UK. So, and they came up with this category called Pole Idols, where it was invitation only. So they asked me if I would do it. And I was like, I really don't want to, but it's an honor. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, I'll do it. And the stress leading up to that, I was like, oh, kill me now. And it was fine. I won, but I'm like, after that, no more. I was like, leave me alone. I proved to myself that the dinosaur can still do it. Leave me all alone. I don't want to do it again. Oh my God, the stress. For like 6 months, I was like, why did I say yes to this? And then it was over, and hopefully it'll never happen again.
Yes.
Wow.
Party. I've never heard of the pole idols. Do they still give that?
So that was only the first edition
Okay.
in August this year. So yeah, they divided it into like pole idols artistic and pole idols helography, and then they just kind of invite people who have been like prominent, I guess, in the country, in the UK's pole dancing scene. And then you can just choose if you prefer to do it in heels or if you prefer to do maybe the artistic category. And then, yeah, you just all go neck to neck, battle it out. That was fun. I think what people were really looking forward to is like they invited all of these people who maybe also stopped competing as frequently. Like maybe they haven't been on a stage in a couple of years or stuff. And then people are just excited, like, oh, this person who I really love, this person who I really love, they're all going to be on this stage. So it was a really epic show. Like the production value, everything, how the day ran, it was really, really, really cool. Despite like holding on nervous diarrhea for 24 hours, but other than that, it was a great experience.
I absolutely love that. And it all started, you said, from the Voldemort performance in Exotic Generation.
Yeah, that's when like well, that's when my life fully changed to like heels, but that's also, I feel like, when I just started getting known a little bit more internationally. So like in Poland, people knew who I was because that's where I was from and I was competing there for a couple of years. Then I moved to England, and like a couple of people that I just knew from online, like obviously knew that I lived in England now and all of that. But then after the Voldemort performance, that's where things really went. Like I started getting invited to a lot of places and guest teaching for a lot of like online platforms in COVID. So yeah, it was very transformative. It was like one of those, if I hadn't done it, maybe my life would be completely different now, but I did do it. So I'm glad I did.
I know that performance. I saw it on YouTube when they aired it, and it was just life-changing for me. It was just so beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. And I never put two and two that it was you who did it. Because like you
See,
said,
I told you, this happens
over
all the time. This happens all the time. Except people used to do it to my face. The disrespect.
Sorry, that was a life-changing performance. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for liking it.
Yes. Oh my goodness. We didn't get sidetracked. We got to talk about a lot.
This is
Right.
going to happen all the time. Like, be prepared. We're
Oh, I'm
not staying
sorry.
on topic. I'm
I'm sorry.
sorry. I wish I could control it, but I can't.
Oh, you're fine. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. Let me see. So I know you said you aren't a big trick person high anymore, but I would like to ask, what is your favorite trick or maybe your own nemesis or both?
Well, nemesis is any armpit grip. All armpit grips should die a painful death in hell, and they should have never existed. And I'm just not here for it. I don't feel sorry for armpit grips. I just don't feel like they deserve to exist, and I hate them with a passion. And I will never do them ever. And I that will never. I don't like them. I'm very armpit phobic, I guess, in terms of pole moves. But my favorite. I don't know. I just think there's something about like a no-handed jade with like both hands on the front leg. It's always been my favorite. I know it's like not a new move or anything, but I just really like it. It's my go-to. If I'm going to do a combo on the spin pole and I have to go up there, I'll build around it so I can still do it. I really, really like that move. Um, and other stuff, I don't know. What did I used to like? Everything else is like very base work. I still love tricks, but they're just not high up, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would definitely just stick with that Jade. Um, I learned a lot of new stuff when I was prepping for the Elite Pole Champs because I was taking private lessons with Carly Child because she's like super inventive. We were doing online privates. I was like, help me, I'm so basic up there and you're so good. Show me your ways. And she did. So I learned a heap of new stuff there. And once she's back full speed because I don't think she's given birth yet. I think she's very pregnant right now. So after that, I hope we can still meet up and continue because I guess it is, for your own development, good to still from time to time, even if I'm not going to use it in a performance, just for my own sake, practice these new things up there. Yeah, I told you the least favorite, most favorite. Yeah, yeah, I have not and pole-based handstands, low flow. I love all of that. But if it's up the pole trick, no-handed jade, hands down, never going to change.
Love me some jades. But I also
I
love
love
armpit moves. No teddies for you then, huh?
I can't even do one. Like the Teddy is my nemesis. So there's just some moves where I'm like, I can't do them. But to tie in with what we were saying before, I don't need to do them. It is not my thing. I absolutely do not need to know how to do all of the moves, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being armpit inadequate.
I love it. I love that you own it because look at what you've done with everything you do love and you know what you love. So we all
Exactly. If you can't do one move, it's not the end of the world. Maybe it's just not your move. Or, you can also gaslight yourself. You can always just like fail at doing the move and be like, it was stupid anyway. It was ugly. I never liked it in the first place. And then just move on. I always say to my students, gaslight yourself. It's fine. If you don't do it, somebody will do it to you. So it's better that you mistreat yourself.
Yes, I love it. I find us as pole dancers, for some reason, when we start want to do everything, and it takes us a while to learn, you don't have to do everything. You can say, fuck this, I don't want to do
And if
that.
we want to do something, it's like it has to happen now. Because if it doesn't happen right now, the world won't collapse. Everything's going to be fine. You can take your time. And oftentimes, like you'll be like hyper fixated on doing this one thing and it's not working out. And then you just leave it and then you randomly revisit it however long later. And you're like, oh, it's working now, so it's fine. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Everyone will be fine. I just feel like I like to remind people that we literally dance on a piece of metal. Shit's not that deep. So like if you can't do a move on a piece of metal, your life's not going to change that much. It's going to be okay. We can always revisit or do something else.
It's so true. It's so true.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up too, because it's hard sometimes for students, especially new ones. They're like, oh, I want to get this and this and this. And then it's like, like you said, it takes more than like one class sometimes. And then they'll be like, I'm not good. But it doesn't matter.
No, it's okay. Like I feel like it's important to like sometimes just like appreciate how far you've already gone.
Yeah.
And I know we're always like, I know what I want this to like be the final product to be. So I'm only fixated on that, and I forget to acknowledge how far I've come from the first time I stepped into the studio. And also we forget like why we started this in the first place. Like the reason I started pole is because I freaking loved it. It was so fun. It was challenging. It was impressive. And like why start this activity for that reason and then just completely shit all over it by being hypercritical of yourself. Like you joined it to have fun, you joined it because you loved it. Remember that and give yourself some grace. Be kind to yourself.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And then I was wondering too, how long did you always knew that you wanted to be a pole teacher after you started, and how long did that journey take?
I've known from pretty much the beginning that I wanted to be a pole teacher because I didn't really get to be a dance teacher much when I did other styles. Because, like in ballroom, I was okay, but I wasn't like amazing at it because there are so millions of people do it. It's such a highly competitive thing because it's so popular. And then, I had like I don't know if you're familiar with the competitive like grading in ballroom, but I had like a B class in it. And then above that, you still had an A class and an S class. So I wasn't even, at the highest one there. So usually, like, we would be able to teach like some kind of first dance course or private lessons maybe for like fresh beginners or things like that, hen do's, stag do's, stuff like that. You call them bachelorette parties and bachelor parties, like stuff like that we would do. But I never got to actually was never hired anywhere to just be a dance teacher, just like full stop for a thing. And I was like, oh well, maybe this is my chance. And then at the studio where I was, they weren't giving me that opportunity either because they were saying like, oh, okay, yeah, you can do all of these things, but that doesn't mean that you can teach them. And I'm like, well, you don't know that I can't teach them. You never gave me the chance. You never saw me teach, but you're just assuming that I'm not going to be able to teach them. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not getting anywhere here. So then I just opened my own studio, and it turned out I'm a damn good teacher. So it was their loss. But I knew, yeah, I was itching to become a dance teacher even when I was still doing the other styles. So when I started pole, I was so happy that I was like, well, I can just hire myself. You don't need to hire me. I'll just do it myself if you don't want to do it.
Right? And now you're also a teacher trainer.
Yes, yes. And I also certify people to teach. So I joined XPERT in 2020. It was I think it was January 2020. Um, I joined them, and then like 3 months later, lockdown happened. So that was, with XPERT, you obviously have to assist the courses that you want to teach because I mean you have to take them and learn the material. Obviously, if you're going to be teaching people the material, so I got to assist a few different courses, and then lockdown happened, and then the whole online thing kicked in because obviously the world couldn't just stop. So then I became from an assistant to a trainer during lockdown because I was helping out with a lot of the online stuff, and then however many months. I feel like time flies for me. I'm saying a couple of months ago, maybe it was a year ago. I don't know. I'm an old man. Leave me alone. So then they promoted me to master trainer. So yeah, so I'm a master trainer with XPERT now, and I teach all of the pole courses and the heels course and the flex course. I don't unfortunately do any of the other apparatuses that they are. I don't do trapeze and silks and hoop and all of that. I'm just pole and flexibility and heels.
Yes, I love it.
I'm
I was able to take the 1 and 2 and the 3 and 4, and that's where I really got to not fully experience you, but got to see you as you know, virtually, and it was so fun. Thank you for
Oh, did you
that.
do the videos?
I did, and I had
Ah, there you go. Yes. That people often think like, oh, I'm doing a course with you this month. And I'm like, no, you're not. That's not in your calendar. But you're on the videos. I'm like, yeah, that's no, just because I'm on the videos doesn't mean I'm gonna be physically there.
Right? I'm in the middle of your heels course.
Oh my God.
uh,
Love Gen Z hearts.
yes. I want to take the
Um,
flexibility one next and then the heels, but I did enjoy the one and two and then the three and four a lot.
I love doing one and twos, like as a teacher, just for students. Not even I'm not even talking about expert courses now, but that was one of the biggest like I don't know, losses for me when I stopped teaching the beginner classes at my studio because I just love it. It's really cool to teach obviously people who already have that passion and teach them new things or help them get things that they currently are struggling with. But there's just something special about the people who just come in for the first time and you're that one person that can literally do for them what maybe somebody else did for you. Like you might change their whole life there. Like you might help them find their thing. Like maybe they're going to want to become instructors. Like personally, all of the instructors in my studio, we don't have any external hires. They were all our students, every single one of them. So it's like this somebody in here might become a future team member. We don't know. And I just think that's really, really exciting. But I don't teach those anymore. And that's a massive shame because I really, really, really loved it.
at
Do
least you
you
still
think
get to do it indirectly through the videos.
Yes. Let's just pretend I'm actually there live.
do you think you ever might be able to again in the future? I mean,
I mean, sure, sure. It's just a matter of I think how the timetable worked out in the studio was just that there were a couple of classes where I needed to be the person teaching them because there was one like that was quite dancey and ballet based, and then I had the most experience with that. Again, not saying I'm like a ballet dancer, but obviously anybody who does ballroom and contemporary or anything like that, you have ballet lessons, so you have a baseline knowledge of what's going on there. And there were some like contortion classes, which again I had the most experience and knowledge with stuff like that. And I just needed to teach those, and that was it. So there was no space for me to because I also didn't want to take away hours from my team. It's like, well, no, you take those hours if you want them and you need them, absolutely. And then the schedule got really busy with like workshops and camps and courses and all of that on weekends. And then I teach twice a week also online on my platform. So because of that, I eventually gave from September, I don't teach in my studio anymore. So I own it, but I don't teach there because I don't have the time. And out of all of the stuff that I could delegate, obviously I can't delegate my own workshops or I can't delegate my online platform, but I can delegate my classes because all of the instructors in the studio are very, very, very capable and they're amazing. We're really, really lucky. So yeah, it feels like I'm a visitor in my own business whenever I do have to come once in a couple of months to check things out.
Wow, that's amazing. Like I feel like I'm moving a little bit more forward to that as well, just because I'm getting old and I can't teach as often. But yeah, I own the studio, but I only teach 1 day a week, and everyone else takes over the rest of it.
I mean, you
But you
have to
said,
look after your body as well. Like I feel like we sometimes take on so much and burnout's a real thing. Like you don't want to burn out. Again, going back to like, why did we start this in the first place? And it's so easy because you're like, yeah, I'll accept that private lesson. Yes, I'll take this cover. Yes, I'll do this. And then you realize that you've not had a day in the past 3 weeks where you've not touched a pole. And you just need that. You just, we do an amazing thing. We're really, really lucky to be doing what we're doing, but it is still at the end of the day a job, and you are absolutely allowed to get sick of your job no matter how cool it is from time to time if you do too much. So you gotta give yourself some grace, listen to your body when you know you need to step back a little bit. Luckily, if you own a studio, you're in the position where you're like you have awesome instructors who can do that for you and support you there. But listen to your body, don't burn out. Burnout is scary. Avoid it at all costs.
right? What is your like weekly training and teaching schedule look like? How do you do time management?
Badly is the answer to that. I am very well. I used to think I was organized. I was quite an organized person. And then I met my boyfriend who's like really organized. And he's like, "You're chaotic. Like, you are not organized. Don't ever say that." And I'm like, "Okay, I accept this." So I have Tuesdays and Thursdays, I teach online. And then weekends, almost always, unless I give myself a weekend off, I'm somewhere doing something like a course or workshops or whatever. So I give myself days off during the week, and Mondays and Fridays are like kind of I don't put things there because sometimes you have to fly on the Friday, fly back on the Monday, and if you put things in your schedule as a regular thing on Mondays and Fridays, then it's just chaos because people need to cover you. And I was like, nah, it's fine. But I'm usually still quite productive on those days. Like, I'll do some admin things at least, and then Wednesday's like my slug day. Like, I don't care how much is going on. I'm not doing a damn thing. I am enjoying myself and relaxing. So I've become a lot better at doing that because I feel like a lot of people, I did have a very long, years long workaholic phase. And then workaholic got tired, neared burnout, and was like, I need to chill out and enjoy normal life too. So I'm kinder to myself in terms of workload now during the week. Nobody's a robot, nobody's invincible. Like, you won't pull it off indefinitely. You have to take care of yourself.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm always curious as to what like workloads everyone takes on because it seems like everyone's doing so many things, but you're absolutely right. You need like at least one slug day.
Yeah, you need a slug day. And I understand like capitalism, rising cost of everything. You need to work. Like, you can't just be like, yeah, I'm gonna chill 3 days a week and then I don't know, my positive attitude will pay my rent. Like, that's not how life works, unfortunately. So I do know that there is a certain amount of things that we need to do to survive. And I know sometimes it's like, oh, well, if I don't do this thing, I'm missing out on money. And that's how I feel about weekends sometimes. I used to feel that way, that like, okay, if I tell myself that this weekend is free, and even if somebody wants to book me for that weekend, I say, no, I'm not available. In the back of my head, I was like, having this weekend off just cost me X amount of money because I could have had that money if I accepted the booking. But also, I might have hated life if I did every single weekend, and I don't. So it's worth it. It's good.
Love it.
Funny. How did you find, how were you able to make the transition from in-person teaching to your online platform, which is a beautiful platform?
Oh, thank you very much. I think, well, COVID, obviously, COVID made online, like, not that online didn't exist. People did do online, I think more like tutorial based stuff for years already before COVID. I just don't think it was as popular as COVID made it because that's when everybody realized, oh yeah, I can learn online, or like workplaces realized, oh, not everybody has to physically be in the office. So I do feel like the world changed a lot because of that. I was late to the game though, because I did teach some online stuff, usually for other people or via my studio in lockdown, but I didn't set up my own platform until like, what was it? January 2022 is when I finally launched mine. I was very late to the game, but also like I was not in the right mental space during lockdown to do that. So I was like, if I put an additional pressure on top of myself that you have to deliver this quality content, although you're not coping well. So I'm like, it's okay. I'll just take my time. When I'm ready, I'll do it. And when I was ready, I did it. So I don't regret that. But it was more like, I feel, and I know a lot of friends, a lot of like traveling pole instructors who also struggled with that, like, oh, I don't know if I like teaching online enough to do it. Oh, I don't know. And then once you bite the bullet and actually start doing it, I personally enjoy it. I love it. Like, I am incredibly lazy, and I love that my workplace is 10 steps from my bed. Like, that is amazing. I get out of bed, I go to my pole room, which is on the same floor in my house as my bedroom, and I'm at work. I used to, my struggle was in my previous apartment that I lived in. I didn't have a pole room. So I would have to rearrange the whole living room, take the lights out, do the whole thing. And now, since I have a dedicated room for just that and the lighting, everything's set up, I just walk in an 8 count before I have to start and I'm good to go. And I love it. It's amazing. No commuting, no time wasting, no going out into the cold. It's fantastic. I love teaching online now.
I want to say too, I love your pole room. It's awesome. The logo behind it is so cool, and the lighting is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I actually, it was this Saturday because the part that you see on camera that I let you see is and behind it, it was just chaos. Just everything was everywhere. And then I was like, I can't live like this. This is awful. I couldn't find anything. So actually, on Saturday, I spent like 6 hours assembling like storage units and everything. So I went shopping and it's very nice and organized now. So it's a much nicer place to be in. It's not very big though. It's good enough for what I have to do and what I teach. But had I been an inch or two taller with the heels, I'd be screwed because I just have standard ceiling heights in this place. But I'm only like 5'7", so it doesn't matter. I'm fine. I'm okay. But if I was any taller, I would be in trouble. I also have short legs, so I'd be kicking walls. But I don't have long legs, so I'm not kicking them. So everything's good. The universe delivered to what I needed. In the future, maybe if I ever move again, I'll look at more space around me. But for what I need now, it's perfect.
I love it. That is inspiring. That is my goal to be the same way. Just get out of bed, go teach my class next door, and then be on my way.
I'm so boring. I don't leave the house. I honestly, people, it struck me on Friday because I had one of my friends, Annie Norris, teaching workshops at my studio this weekend. And then I was just texting the group chat, the instructor group chat, like, I'm taking Annie out for dinner on Saturday because she's arriving on Saturday, which is a day before, like on a Saturday. But my brain didn't compute like that people have lives because I'm just like, yeah, of course I'm free. I'm not doing anything. They were like, no, we've had dinner planned like months in advance. Like, what is wrong with you? Uh, so I was like, okay, so it's just me. I literally, if I have a day off, it's books, gaming, whatever. All of those things I love, but none of the things I love would require me leaving my front door. None of them. I don't meet up with people. I don't party. I don't do any social things at all.
I love her. I mean, it's understandable. It must make it easier that when you do your workshops, you get to travel and uh, for the most part, I mean, things are far but closer than here.
And you get to meet new people all the time. You do get,
Yes.
the social aspect of life just by
Yes.
seeing people. But I also feel like a lot of pole dancers, like after a while, if like you really go deep diving into the pole community and like it becomes your job and your everything, you probably find that most of your friends are pole dancers. Most of the people you know and hang out with are pole dancers. So I feel like I have so many friends all over the planet, but I don't have any friends like directly around where I live because obviously I'm not from here. I moved here. And because all I do is pole and I go to these pole events and I hang around pole dancers, I'm like, I don't have, and I also don't leave the house. So I'm not helping myself exactly here. I don't have anyone like, hey, want to grab a coffee? Hey, want to go grab a drink? I'm just like, seeing people? No. Wheel of Time, blanket overhead, let's go.
Me and my husband just finished that show. Very good show.
Did you? Oh, the book is over there. I watched both seasons and I ordered the first 3 books. So I'm on book 2 now. There's 15, so I have a long way to go. But read them because they changed so much in that series for no reason. So yeah, it'll feel like you don't know what's gonna happen.
We were thinking about reading them. It's so funny that you brought that up, but we already have like lists of things we have to read, so it's added on.
Yeah, add it on. But there's like it's a heavy load to take on. That's what she said. Because there's like 15 books and they're all like 700 to 800 pages long, which is fun. Fun because I think after I finished reading Harry Potter as a teenager, you got that like little hit of depressions, like, oh, I'm never going to be able to read this for the first time ever again. Because you already know everything that happens, and you can rewatch the movies and reread the books as many times as you want. You know what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
here I'm like, bitch, let's go. I have no idea what's going to go on. Let's read this before the next season comes out. So
It is.
that's exactly what I'm going to do once we end this call.
I love it. Too funny.
Yes. Well, what kind of do you use any hand and body grip for pole?
I'm a sweaty palm person, so I can't cope without hand grip. I don't really use body grip. I feel like, I don't know, the moisture levels of the rest of my body are like, okay, let's stay a reasonable level, and my hands are just like party. So I feel like I need to switch them out every now and again, because I mean, this might be, any scientist listening to this might be like, you dumb bitch, that's absolutely not true. But let me live in my reality. I feel like my hands get used to certain grips and they don't work as well as they did at the beginning. I don't know if that's something you can relate to. Yeah, so I used to use dry hands, never worked for me. I've never been a dry hands person. It actually makes me slippier. Um, so I would just be a liquid chalk person, which wasn't great, but it was the best for what was offered at the time. And then they came out with sticky monkey hands. I don't know if you have that. Yes. So I was using that. And again, at the beginning, oh my God, it was life changing. I'm like, oh, so all of these moves that I thought I wasn't strong enough for, I actually am strong enough for. It's just my sweaty ass hands wouldn't let me like hold on. So that was like very good. But then after a while, my hands got used to it. And then I tried this grip. A student actually who booked a private let me use some. It's called Dancing Dust. I think it's developed by Maddie and Michelle. Yeah, Dancing Dust. So I use that. And at the moment, I periodically swap between Dancing Dust and I use a little bit of Monkey Hands. I kind of try to confuse my hands. It's like, oh, you don't know what's going to come next. You don't know my next move. So you better like this. Otherwise, I'll confuse you with the third grip if you piss me off. So yeah, I've got those two grips on like constant circulation now. I always have them both in my bag.
That is too funny. I have not tried the dancing dust, I think you mentioned, but
Yeah, I mean, it's not like sticky monkey hands. Obviously, at the beginning, it feels like almost like you have tree sap on your hands, but then that dries down a little bit. That one's more like it'll feel a little bit more dry handsy. It doesn't leave like a white residue like liquid chalk does. It feels more dry handsy. But I mean, I don't know if this is like a marketing thing or not, but it says it reactivates with sweat. So it like if you get slide, you have to just rub it across your hands, which I don't know if that works or not. Like maybe I'm the odd person where that doesn't work. But still overall it performs very well. I really like it.
my hands got used to the sticky monkey hands too, so I ended up trying their gluey monkey hands, and that shit is crack.
That shit is crack. But you can just much like crack overdose with it. Like if you do too much, it's like you have the opposite effect. But do you know what's really good? And anybody listening, if you like feel like you're using chalk or you're using this and you're using that, and it's just not working for you, one thing, especially for performances, if I need to have the best grip of my life, what I used to do with chalk is I'd apply an excessive amount on my hands, like too much. And I'd like rub it, and whilst it's drying and my hands are slowly turning like snow white, I'd like gently pat the pole, like spread that out, but not too much, not like so you can't clean it off, just a little bit. And then you go wash the top layer off with cold water. And then because you basically then the chalk sits in all of the little creases and crevices in your hand, so the sweat doesn't come through, but the surface of your hand isn't covered with the chalk, so you have the natural stickiness of your skin as well. Amazing. So good. Try it.
And this is chalk powder.
Yes,
Okay.
it's chalk, but you can do it pretty much with any. You can do it with monkey hands as well. Like sometimes, those bottles, like you'll just squeeze out too much and you're like, oh, well, I've just ruined my day. But you can just literally rub that excessive amount over your hands, wait for it to dry, and then just run those hands under cold water and keep no soap, no nothing. Just keep rubbing them and then just towel dry them and you're fine.
Oh, and thank you for
And
that
let me know
tip.
how you get on.
Yeah.
Write it down now. Chalk.
You're leaving the podcast now, like, sorry, I just can't wait.
Too funny. I love like the chalk, but it's like you said, sometimes it gets overwhelming. I wasn't able to find like a balance.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're still developing new shit every single day, aren't they? And you just got to keep trying it. Keep
Yeah.
trying till you find your thing.
Run the cold water.
Yes, run the cold
Right,
water. Heed
not
my
warm water.
words. Not warm water because you're gonna sweat.
Yes. And
I'm
then
with that.
for knee pads, do you have a special brand that you use or?
Yes. So if if you're looking for like knee pads for very dynamic stuff, like we're talking hips, dropping to the floor, all those things, they're like it's Tatiana. Tatiana knee pads, nobody else comes close. I'm sorry. I've had all of the knee pads. I've had the normal foam ones. I've had gel knee pads. And this is like she can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember it correctly that it's like D30 padding. I think it's similar padding to like what they use in like motorcycle suits. And they're supposed to save your life if you fall off of a motorcycle because they kind of like harden upon impact and they take the impact. So it's the same technology behind the inserts in those knee pads. And also I found that with a lot of just regular knee pads, the material will just break because obviously like the spike of your heel is going to scratch across at some like we do weird stuff. So those they're made out of like something called super fabric, so you can like even run scissors across them and they don't break. By the way, I am not sponsored by Tatiana or these. This is just generally how impressed I am because I teach a lot. I don't mean this in a nasty way. I spend a lot of time on my knees. So I need something that's going to actually protect me. And yeah, nothing else has even come close. So I absolutely love them. The only time I don't wear them is like if because I think they're coming out with like flesh toned ones, but currently they just have them like black. So if I don't know, dancing and I'm wearing maybe sandals instead of boots and I want my legs to look like nice and long, I'll wear like gel like skin color knee pads instead of the black ones to not like break the line. But that's just like an aesthetic choice. Safety wise, they're like the bomb. They're amazing.
Thank you for sharing that. I've been looking for different knee pads too because I do a lot of low flow and they just get wasted immediately.
No, they're so damn. They are spenny. They're not cheap. I'm gonna say that, but I've had them for like, oh god, ages now, and no problems whatsoever. Other knee pads I have to replace all the time, and I will say they did. I was like one of their guinea pigs. So when they were like testing and sending out to a couple of people, I was one of those people. So I didn't have to pay for the pair that I got. However, if I ever somehow managed to break them in some nuclear apocalypse, I would purchase another pair. Absolutely, because I can't function without them.
Yes, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Tatiana knee pads.
Yeah, I've never tried them. I'll have to
You're
look
just
into
making a
that.
shopping list. You're like, and I need to buy cold water, and I need the Tatiana knee pads, and some dancing dust.
Yeah. What kind of chalk was it? The brand? No, I'm joking.
Uh,
Well, do you have any teaching or pole dance philosophies you want to share with us?
well, besides the ones that I feel like we've covered some philosophies already during the chat, um, but I would also say, especially for like the hot-headed students who like to just like jump from one thing to the next, it's like, okay, I just barely managed this butterfly. Let's go for Aisha. No, 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 no. So one of them would be like master your basics before you move on. And another would be something simpler but done very well is better than something harder and done unsafely or untidily. And this is actually a great segue. It's almost like I planned this. I said that there were some like things from ballroom dancing that really transferred well to pole dancing. And this is something that a lot of pole dancers don't do. I feel actually like a majority of pole dancers don't do. Um, if you train ballet, if you train contemporary, if you train ballroom, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. It doesn't matter how experienced or world class level you are. You never stop drilling the basics. Never. You will go to like a ballroom camp, like a summer camp or whatever, and you will have people there who are like, have been dancing a couple of months, people have been dancing a couple of years, the national champions, international champions, everyone's there. And everybody's drilling the same basic Roomba walk for the millionth time, because there's no such thing as doing it absolutely perfectly. You will literally be next to the national champion on your side, and you're doing the same exercise. Whereas I don't think we have the same philosophy with a lot of pole dancers. We don't just go to a pole camp and the whole lesson's like drilling a pole walk or drilling a dip, a step around, however you call it. We don't do that, and a lot of people just like do a certain move and it's like, there you go, I can do it, move on to the next thing. But it's like, that's what really separates you, the movement quality, the execution. Go back to your basics. There's no ballerina like in the world who doesn't still do the basic bar exercises she did when she started. You gotta drill the basics. So that is, if you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, that is my wisdom to you.
I love it. Yes, the new Avatar on Netflix comes out this week. I'm excited.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday. Yes. Oh, we have been counting days, and my boyfriend was like, "Oh, it's out on Thursday."
Yeah.
He's such a fake fan though, because he never watched anime, and we don't like the same shows. Like, so I feel like whenever I recommend a show, he won't even give it a chance. He'll just be like, well, he likes it, therefore must be shit. And I'm like, no, give it a chance. He said the same about Wheel of Time. Now he's obsessed, and he didn't watch anime. I was like, watch Avatar, do it. And now bitch is obsessed. Suddenly biggest anime fan in the world. Two-face bitch. But anyway, he was very excited about the Thursday release. But we have some like workmen coming to the house. They're going to be doing stuff, replacing doors, whatever straight men do, I don't know. So they're going to be like doing stuff around the house, so we can't watch it. And then I'm teaching in the evening, so we can't watch it. He was like, oh, but I have Friday off, and I'm flying off to a camp, so we can't watch it. So either we're going to stay up really late Thursday night, or we're just going to watch it separately. I don't know. We'll see.
I would stay up late.
I mean, I'm just gonna. The plan is I will just watch it without him, because he has no integrity TV wise. Like, he will watch this by himself when whilst I'm away. He's not waiting 4 or 5 days to watch this, and I know that that's the reality. So I'm not even gonna consult. I'm just gonna do. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission.
I love it. With that being said, wise info on drill the basics.
Yes, that was the point of everything I just said. Yes. And watch Avatar: The Last Airbender and read Wheel of Time.
Oh my goodness, yes, I agree. I so heartily agree. I do have a question that wasn't on the list. What advice would you give to male pole dancers who are having issues finding their, how do you say, their sensuality or fluidity? Like, I as I train more, my muscles get bigger and I lose a lot of my sexy movement, I find. So how are you able to do that as, I guess this is awful, this sounds awful, as a man? Like, how do you get that sensual fluidity movement without making it seem I'm a big burly man?
I think it's actually good that you said muscles, because I was having this conversation when I was judging a competition with another judge who was more of an arty judge. And it was like, well, how can you define what sexy is? Like, to them, emotions were sexy, and that was a lot sexier to them than for me, maybe somebody shaking their ass, so it's not, there's no one definition of sexy. Different things can be sexy. So like when you mentioned muscles, to a lot of people, that's when they're going to be like, that's the hottest thing I've seen you do so far, right? Because now you move in a different way and your body looks a different way. But no matter what it looks like or how you move, things can be sexy. So let's like start from there, that there's not like a baseline of how you need to move. And I feel like we're often caught in a pattern of like, we really like a certain pole dancer who moves a certain way. Therefore, to us, the definition of good movement and sexiness is how that person moves. But that's just not true. Of course, the way they move, I'm sure, is fantastic and all of that. But the way we can personally move is also, viable for being sexy and sensual and all of those things. I think in terms of finding sensuality and finding sexiness, slowing things down a notch is a lot better, because personally this is like my goal for myself this year, to slow shit down, because I usually just move like a raccoon on crack. Like I'm challenging myself to slow down and not have to move so fast all the time. So I think just exploring your own sensuality, like forget about maybe how your body's changing or how your body looks. Just focus on slowing stuff down, maybe give yourself some nice ambient moody lighting, and just let your body move the way it wants to move. Like that's it. And yes, a lot of the stuff, especially if you're freestyling, is going to look like shit. Like you're going to feel silly. It's going to probably not look that great, but in the couple of minutes you're going to be doing it, you'll find like those few gems where you're like, I really liked how that felt. I really liked how I looked when I did this thing. And you will develop your own style, because, everybody's going to move a different way. The way that I naturally move when I consider myself to look sexy is not going to be natural to, let's say, the two of you, and vice versa. The way you naturally move might be quite different for me. And I completely get what you're coming from as well, because I have this one friend, Olga Baijuk. She is, bitch moves like water. She's so good. So good. But when I try to move like her, I look like a plank of wood. And by no means would I consider myself to be a plank of wood, but when I try to do what she does naturally, I just look ridiculous. I just don't look good in it. And if you start taking other people's workshops, which, as teachers, we don't get to do as often as we would like to, you'll find that, like, oh my God, like they look so good in this. I did not look good in this, because that was their style. That was what they excelled at. That was what they looked good in. And you will also have your own style and your own thing that you look exceptional in, and nobody else is going to look that way in it. So just find your thing and explore. And yeah, you don't have to move like anybody else. That would be, I don't know if that answered the question, but I hope so.
It did. Thank you. I didn't know if it was like extra flexibility conditioning, so I appreciate that honest answer.
No, you don't need, like, if flexibility is somebody's thing and that's what they want to dive into, that's fine. But again, it doesn't need to be your thing, right? I think slowing things down and, again, going basic is probably the best way, because then you'll just find ways that your body moves that you think that looks really good on me, and just continue down that path and try to find more patterns where your body looks in ways that you like. And that's all it is, just mashing that stuff together. It's just experimenting, playing around, and then eventually this whole new style develops and you're like, damn, I'm hot. This is great.
I love it. Thank you for that.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. I think it is great that you brought up the fact that it's more important of how you feel doing it rather than what you look like. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, like, your body's going to change. Like you have to kind of learn to, and I know it's so easy to say, like, yes, just accept your body. And we know that that's not an easy thing, especially us millennials and stuff. Like, body positivity when we were young, where was that? Like, that didn't exist. What are you talking about? So it's easier said than done, but the reality is your body's going to change. You're going to have moments where you look smaller, moments where you look bigger, moments where you feel better, and moments where you feel like crap. And there comes a point where you just need to kind of realize this is just a house that's been given for what actually matters, which is in your brain, right? And do the best with that given house that you can, right? Because there's nothing you're going to do to permanently change it. Like, personally, for me, I think weight was a big thing for me. I've never, well, when I was a lot younger, when I was a child, I was like considerably bigger. But then in my adult life, I'm like, my weight fluctuates, go up and down, but I've never been like, more on the plus size as an adult. But that doesn't change the fact that still I can see when my body changes, and it really affects how I feel about myself. But the reality of it is, I'm never going to be a person who's naturally skinny. I won't. It's just not the reality for me. I'm not going to be a person who's just always lean, can eat whatever they want, and they're going to have a six pack. It's just not going to happen. And I also know myself enough to know that I absolutely will not spend the rest of my life on a strict diet just for the sake of appealing to other people who are like, oh, yeah, you look best when you have a flat stomach. Well, it ain't gonna last. So take it in whilst it's there if there are ever those periods. And it's, it's fine. You just learn to care less. I feel as you get older, you're like, fuck you. I feel good now. That's all that matters.
Yes, love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to plug any upcoming things that are coming soon for you in your studio or your personal?
Um, well, well, I'm all over the place for this year. I just finished closing my diary for January 2025. So up until there, it's like all booked up. So that's really good. That went really, really crazy. So yeah, in the States, I'll be in PoleCon. I'll be at PoleCon, International PoleCon. I have workshops on the Friday. I think that's the 31st of May, I think. So you can go on the Wellness Living app and book that there. If you want to attend. Other than that, I'll also be in the States at the Team Basework Camp. So you can also catch me there if you want. And if you're not going to any of those two things, you can find me at thepolewizard.com, where I live permanently because I don't leave my house.
I love it. Is that pole base camp is in Texas, right?
Yes, yes. Is it Austin, Houston, something, Texas?
I don't know. I think I just saw Texas. Yeah, I've never
It
been.
is definitely in Texas. It is definitely there, but I have the memory of a goldfish. So it's in Texas. It is in the United States of America in Texas. But go to Team Basework on Instagram where you can find all the details.
I love it. Yes.
Oh,
And if you haven't visited the Pole Wizard platform, you definitely should. He has multiple pricing packages for different things you're looking for: sexy floor work, conditioning, tutorials, choreo, all sorts of fun stuff.
Flexibility,
Yes,
all
flexibility.
the things. I'll make you a flexy, sexy bitch.
yes.
I want to do the flexi one so bad. I'm going to, I promise. So many things I want to do.
Right. I definitely want to learn from you in person this year if possible, but I do want to finish my heel certification that I'm working on. It's been
Do it.
a
Do it.
year.
Get on it. It is 11 o'clock for you today. Your deadline's today. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pressure anyone. I am like
Yes.
the audacity I just had. I am like the world's biggest procrastinator, and I'm also like the worst for being like, don't tell me what to do. Like my boyfriend will literally be like, "Have a good day. Don't tell me what to do. I'm gonna have an awful day. I'm not gonna let you win." So I would never tell anybody, give anybody a deadline or tell them what to do.
Too funny.
I
I
needed
have
that
been
though.
telling,
Thank you.
I've been telling her too, you need to hurry up. Too funny. Where I have one more. Where do you see yourself with pole dancing in 5, 10 years? Where do you hope to be? What do you hope? Yeah.
Come through, job interview question. Okay. So in 5 to 10 years' time, I definitely still see myself doing pole. I'm currently 31, so well, nearly 32, but we're going to neglect that fact. I'm 31. So I can definitely still see myself doing a lot of pole in 5 years, and in 10 years, definitely, hopefully still do that. And then I think with time, we'll just see how my body behaves. We'll, like I can't predict that far into the future. I know that definitely I won't want to quit it. I think I love it too much, but maybe with time, I will make adaptations as to maybe not traveling so frequently if my body needs it, or maybe, I'll take on more teachers on my website so I don't have to do as, oh, like we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm just going to listen to my body. I'm going to be kind to my body. And then I could also, I think I'm lazy, but I'm also too like ADHD to just sit in place. I'd have to do something. So I feel like if I was going to take a step back a little bit, like in 5 to 10 years' time, poll wise, I'd probably pick on another project. Like I'd probably try to become a YouTube gamer or something. So I'd probably go there. Another thing on the internet somehow, because then I don't have to leave the house.
Yes, I absolutely love that. I can't wait to see what happens for you in 5 and 10 years. Maybe we can interview you again so we can
Yes.
catch
And I'll be like living in a basement,
Right.
surrounded by like Pokemon plushies.
up. I love it. Oh my God. And 31, you said this whole time you've been saying you old. You are not old. You are so
Well,
young.
the thing
I
is, when I say old, okay, I'm not discriminating against like the age of my corpse. What I'm saying is that mentally, I am 68
know.
and have been there for a while. Like, yeah, young. I also feel like I'm a massive hypocrite in terms of age because, like, let's say when I was 28, I thought like I have my shit together. I'm a serious person, but since I'm older now by just a few years, I look at someone who's 20, I'm like, you baby, you child, what do you know? You know? So, yeah, in 2 years, I'm gonna look at people who are 31 and be like, shut up, what do you know?
Yeah, it's too funny.
I'm such an old lady in my
Too funny.
Yes.
I also think I also think the gay community doesn't help with that. When every time we reach like a new decade, we get named something else, a new
yeah.
milestone.
But see, this is because I don't go out. Whenever there's the odd, I'll go out like Pride. When there's Pride in my city, I'll be like, oh, my annual outing, let's go. And then I'm like, where did these fetuses come from? Like, what are these young things? What is happening? And I'm like, oh my God. Somebody asked me once if I want to be their sugar daddy. I was like, do I look old enough? Like, what is happening? Somebody save me. So yeah, you save like your self-confidence and all of that a lot by not surrounding yourself with very youthful people.
Too funny. Oh goodness. If someone asked me to be their sugar daddy, I'd have to ask, how much sugar are you giving and how much do I have to
How much sugar are you expecting? We have a cost of living crisis. Like sugar, I'm hoarding my own sugar. Go to work.
Too funny. Better be working on the live.
Yes.
Oh goodness. Sugar daddy's too funny. Thank you so much for this. This was so much fun. Do you have anything
Yeah.
else, Mandy?
Oh no, I think that was all the questions we wanted to ask, unless you wanted to add anything else in the end, like any tips for
Uh,
beginners, tips for pole dancers, tips for life.
I'd
promotion,
just
of
say
course, promotion.
enjoy the process. Like, don't speed through the process, enjoy the process, and just, you know, remember what we said at the beginning of the podcast. You don't have to be good at everything. You don't have to do all of the things. There might be things that you hate. You ain't got to do
Yeah.
them. Might be things that you don't want to do. Don't do them. It's fine. You're a free person. It's all good. And yeah, and just enjoy the process. And if you progress into like making this a bigger part of your life, don't burn out, be kind to yourself, listen to your body, because not all of us are like 19-year-old twinks asking random men if they can be their sugar daddies. So, you know, we don't recover as quick. Now I'm gonna weep after this part. I'm like, okay, so nice. The trauma that I inflicted on myself. I brought this up. See,
I, I'd
hopeless
feel
case.
honored. I'd be like, yeah, I still got it. May not have the money, but I still got the looks that they have.
Yeah, see, that's the thing of, did I look like I could have the potential to do that? I'm glad that at least I appear that way.
Oh
Oh
my
Um,
God.
gosh.
yes, thank you so much for here. Thank you so much for all you do for the pole community
Yeah.
and as a gay male pole dancer in the industry. Thank you for everything.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't feel like I do that much, but thank you.
You definitely do. You're one of my biggest inspirations, and yeah, it was just so. I told you earlier, I was
Stop
fangirling all
making me
afternoon.
want to cry. This is not, this is cruel at this point. You're like, make him feel emotions, make him cry on camera.
Yes, I think it's so funny that you brought up the Voldemort thing because that like performance really changed the like my life when I saw it, and I was like, who is this dancer, and I never knew until fucking today.
Missed me with hair now. Yeah, I shaved my head for a performance. Hey ho.
Hell yeah. Fully immersed in the character.
Yes. And I wish I could do a Wheel of Time performance, but it's not as popular as Harry Potter. Nobody would know what's going on. Everybody knows Voldemort. Not everyone's gonna know Moiraine to die, unfortunately.
Maybe they will after you do it.
Maybe, or maybe I just need to do something that sits more with like how I feel internally, as it like Gollum or some kind of tired old thing, a swamp witch, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh my gosh. I cannot wait for that. Oh my gosh. Jacob, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to meet with us and share your story.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Truly our pleasure. I can't wait to see what the future has for you. And if you ever want to share, promote, let us know. We would be happy to have you and promote anything you have for the pole industry.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
That I guess we'll
Now we
sign
do our
off.
sign out process.
Thank you so much for
So
listening
what are we doing?
or watching. Can you guys hear me? My AirPod fell out.
It
died.
lowered.
Yeah, good enough.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening to or watching this episode of Pull on the Call podcast. My name is Mændy Mac.
And I'm Cris Rivers.
And I'm Jakub Kolasa.
Yay.
I love it.